All right, and we're back with another Underdog fantasy football draft. We're going to be getting into the Puppy 2 draft. This is actually crazy. I forget what it was yesterday when we checked, but it's already at 50. It's already over halfway full. Let me see if I can actually now. It's already halfway full, though. You can see it right here. 51%. Um, this is going really fast. So we are going to get into as many of these as we possibly can before it fills up, starting with right now. So I'm really going to get in here and try to make a good team. I felt really good about our team I guess yesterday, but last night I had a crazy draft. I thought it was crazy. The little tracker didn't think it was that crazy, or where it like suggests what points you have. Not this one. This one. Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott. Well, let me make sure. Yeah, we're active, baby. Hold up. And we're pick 2. Hold on. Okay. We got to do this real quick. But in that draft, I kept getting like insane values, and I feel like I have really good players at every single position. So it was definitely one of my favorite drafts so far, just in general. I think we're at like, this is our 71st, 72nd draft. And that might have been my favorite one. You guys might feel differently, but I'll show you when we have a break here. I'm sorry. I just ate chicken nuggets and mac and cheese, so give me a second. But we have a lot of experience in this lobby. 3 players that have been in over 1,000 games or 1,000 fantasy football drafts. 2 over 500. So this is going to be a very experienced lobby. That doesn't necessarily mean that you don't get value, though, because these guys have done so many drafts that a lot of times they'll try to switch it up and reach, and you can still get some pretty decent values. But don't expect someone really worth grabbing to fall super far, but we'll see how it works out. If he goes Jonathan Taylor, we'll go Christian McCaffrey and vice versa. Those are the number 1 and 2 for me until further notice. If I ever thought about taking someone other than those 2 players in the first 2 picks, it would be Justin Jefferson. The more time that goes on, the more I like Justin Jefferson, the Cooper Cup, and I'm going to continue to feel that way until the season starts. I will say, maybe you guys can leave in the comments how you're feeling, but I want to start doing the ranking videos since August is coming up here fast. And I'll probably do 1 a week. So I was thinking we'll start off slow with like quarterbacks, and then we'll go tight end, and then we'll really get into the heat of it with wide receivers and running backs afterwards. Save the best for last type thing. But let me know. Let me know if you would rather have it come out sooner and do the Potter ones first, or if you like my plan to start slow and ramp up as the season gets closer. But we have quite a few picks until we have our next. So did we close this? I think we closed it. All right, let's see what the big board looks like. We got Christian McCaffrey, Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson goes next. I've seen Austin Eckler moving up a lot. I've seen him go in the top 3 picks multiple times in the past 2 days, so that's a little bit interesting. I don't think there's any real news or anything like that. You kind of see ebbs and flows of where players are going just without news. Just you see people changing their mind, and I think what happens is people, after you draft for a while, you get bored of drafting the same player. I know it happens with me, so I'll start to take people that I don't normally take just to kind of keep it fun and interesting and to diversify the portfolio. If you want to convince yourself it's worth doing, that's kind of how you do it. Because, I mean, you don't want to have no exposure to really anyone in the top 5 rounds or even the top 10 rounds, just in case. Obviously you have the guys that you're going to have higher exposure to just based on how you feel about them, but you still should have shares in pretty much everybody. I'm trying to think if there's any one of these rounds that I don't have any shares in. Let me go through real quick and see. AJ Brown, I have very little shares, not none, but I definitely don't pick him very often. Michael Pittman, probably a couple. Kyle Pitts might be my lowest, to be honest, in these first few rounds. Gabe Davis is, I don't even know if I have him in 1. Gabe Davis might be 1. Not that I feel like Gabe Davis doesn't have potential or won't do good this season. I just think he's overvalued when you see who you could be grabbing, especially in the running back range here, like around the 45 range. I'm usually going with Cam Akers or Brees Hall over Gabe Davis, or like Zeke, or if Deontay Johnson is available, I'll take him over Gabe Davis. So it's not that I don't like him. I just think when he's going in the same breath as those players, I'm not super interested. But we're going to start thinking about what our move is here. We have picks 23 and 26. Nothing too crazy shaken out quite yet. Very classic start. I mean, Austin Eckler went a one pick ahead of what he usually goes at. But again, nothing too crazy. And I expect these players in the first 4 rounds to go very close to their ADP just based off the experience in the lobby. They're not going to let people fall too far. I'm trying to think, if I get Mark Andrews falling to us, I'll think about him. But I'm honestly, I would prefer a running back here. You know how I am, but Leonard Fournette even is a little bit of a stretch for me. But then again, I'm not super in on Tyreek and T. Higgins, and I don't know. I'm just looking at this group of players, and I'm really not loving this range of players that we have to pick from. Not that I think they're bad. It's just I feel like there's a severe drop off from the middle of the second round to the end of the second round. I mean, obviously there is a gradual drop off as you proceed through picks, just in general, but I think this drop off is extremely. It's a lot bigger going from the middle of the second round to the end. If DeAndre Swift wants to make it to us, that would be absolutely incredible. There's just no way that happens. That would be a crazy start. But I'm sure he will go in these next 2 picks. There he goes. We really got to start thinking who we want here. I'm trying to think if I want to go Javonte over Tyreek or T. Higgins. If Leonard Fournette's available, we'll grab him. Unless we want to go double up on the wide receiver and go Tyreek and T. Higgins, because we could do that. Not really anybody I'm trying to reach on in this range, so I would prefer Leonard Fournette, which we get him. Fournette revealed Tuesday that he weighs around 240 pounds, but he plans to drop down to 222-30 range, maximize speed for upcoming season. Fat Lenny, baby. Fat Lenny. Who'd I get? Yeah, I got him. I mean, obviously, dude, this guy's in Tampa Bay running around for his job. He'll be fine. The whole Fat Lenny narrative was just people bored. Just bored as shit, wanted the season to start. I do think will I go Javonte here? I don't like AJ Brown. I might go Javonte here if I can, unless he does. Ugh, I hate this range. We could reach on somebody, I guess. Nah, Javonte's available. I'll grab him. I'll grab him. And what we might do here with this start is I might just not pick another running back until like Melvin Gordon or something, and just stick with a hyper fragile 4 running back build. See how that works. I don't think I've ever done that, so this is a perfect opportunity when we're grabbing 3 running backs straight off the bat with extreme upside and very low floor. We're betting on the upside here, so I would be willing, if this team works out and these players stay healthy and they're playing all season, and Javonte Williams gets a step up in his role, et cetera, et cetera. This ceiling between these 3 players could be astronomical. And because of that, I don't think I'm looking to grab more than 4 running backs. And maybe I even don't wait super long to grab my next. Like maybe I grab, who else is a really high ceiling? Like Tony Pollard or something. Kareem Hunt. Ken Walker. So, even Chase Edmonds. Someone in that range might be good just to lock up the running back position and feel comfortable staying at 4. So we're going to try that out. And another thing we might try out here, unless we have some crazy values falling to us, is just hammering wide receiver and forgetting about tight end and quarterback for a while. Maybe we'll grab 1 quarterback in the top 10 rounds, but I have been liking I do like trying to put it off if I can, and if I have some players I can stack later on. Which here we have Christian McCaffrey, so this is a perfect time to go for that Baker Mayfield stack, being that he's still going so late. I think he is finally moving up a little bit. Let's see where he's at right now. Baker Mayfield is at, yeah, he definitely, well, 191. Nah, actually, really didn't move up that much. I've seen him go a lot earlier though. Like earlier today in one of my drafts, I saw him go at 142. Um, which I think we took him at 185 yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, on stream, or 2 days ago. But so this is the perfect team to put off quarterback for a while, grab Baker a little bit later, and shoot to get. I don't know. We'll let our wide receivers dictate who we're going to try to stack with, but it's definitely low on our priority list right now. So let's see what the big board's doing. Keep shutting out of it, I guess. Let's see what the big board's doing and see if there's any runs we should be aware of. Nah, not really. You're seeing DJ Moore go very early now. Just, before the Baker Mayfield news, he was going late third, early fourth round. He's finally found his way all the way up to early third round, which I honestly don't mind at all. I think I prefer DJ Moore over Mike Williams, over Michael Pittman, over Marquise Brown. And don't call me crazy, but maybe even over AJ Brown. That might be a little far, just based off the talent. But to be honest, I think DJ Moore is set for a better season than AJ Brown is. So I think it's definitely well earned that he's moving up because he's been producing with an absolutely horrible quarterback situation for his entire career. He didn't even have good Cam Newton. He got in there when Cam Newton was a shell of himself. So he really has had like Cam Newton, Kyle Allen, Sam Darnold, and he's still been producing. Like the beginning of last year, he was one of the best receivers in the league. He was one of the most high scoring receivers in the league early last year, and he had a steep drop off right after I traded for him. I guess I was a sucker in that situation, but that was also the team where I had Christian McCaffrey and David Montgomery go down like in the beginning of the season. So I had to make a desperate move. So that's my excuse, anyways. But I think with Baker Mayfield, he really steps up into a top 12 receiver this year. I truly believe that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. Top 12 receiver. Lamar Jackson goes very early. That's super early for where he usually goes. Sometimes you even get Lamar end of fifth. So that's very early. James Conner made it to early fourth round. That's a little bit different. But let's see who we got on the board. Deontay Johnson is still available. Pick 42. What are we at right now? We're at pick 47. I do like Deontay Johnson. So we're behind on our receivers, and I think Deontay Johnson is a wide receiver one this year. So we will go ahead and draft him, and we're looking to get another receiver back to back. I say I'm between Allen Robinson and DK Metcalf, but to be honest with you, I'm not really interested in Allen Robinson that much at all. That could be a little bit of a mistake here, but I don't know. I'm not really loving it. I know DK Metcalf has a bad quarterback situation, but even with Geno Smith, he produced at the end of last year, and I wouldn't be surprised if Seattle finds a new quarterback before the end or before the start of this year, or maybe even a couple weeks in. Jimmy Garoppolo is an option. Who else did I hear recently that's an option to get traded? I wonder if like even a Sam Darnold, like if they do something. Well, I guess Drew Lock's kind of same skill level, so that wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. But I mean, Drew Lock and Geno Smith are so bad that there could be a backup quarterback out there that comes in and plays other than Jimmy Garoppolo that we're just not thinking about. But again, even with Geno Smith in there, I think DK Metcalf can produce just based off of his raw talent, speed, size. His target share percentage last year was extremely high. I'm not going to give you a number, but it was extremely high. I think it was in the mid to high 20%. But again, this lobby is very experienced, so we're not seeing a whole lot of value. I keep closing out of this. Not seeing a whole lot of value fall in here. Deontay Johnson was a little bit of a value, but nothing too crazy. So we're going to continue to monitor this. Picks like this, though, will push some players down the board. So I think what I'm going to try to do here is the next 3 out of 4 rounds, we're going to go wide receiver. We'll get 5 solid receivers after this running back start. And then one of these picks before the 10th round will probably be our first quarterback. And then we'll go for Baker. Probably around 170 to be safe. So that's the plan. Tight end, I'm not worried about at all. If I have to wait till the last 3 rounds, that's fine, to be honest. A lot of the teams that advanced to the tournament last year had tight ends going in these later rounds. If they didn't have Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews, they were going in this later round. And they had very high advance rates because you could get players like Hunter Henry down here. And when, I think he was scoring like 1 touchdown with 1 reception every game for like 6 or 7 games in a row, which is all you need out of your tight end. If you get a touchdown out of your tight end that's not named Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, George Kittle, or Darren Waller, or Kyle Pitts, you're pretty happy. So I'm not shying away from just grabbing tight ends really late because you can get Austin Hooper. I think he's a great option. You can get Mo Alley Cox as the last pick every time if you want, and he has plenty of opportunity. With Matt Ryan coming in, it's possible he has some touchdown upside. Braven Jordan, I've been liking in these later rounds. Logan Thomas, even. I think Logan Thomas is extremely talented. And he was doing pretty well with, who was it? Heineke last year. So I think Carson Wentz will be an upgrade from what he had last year. And if he can stay healthy, Logan Thomas, when you're grabbing him in the 16th, 17th round, I'm more than happy with that. And I don't think there's a huge gap between Noah Fant and Logan Thomas. And I think they're in very similar situations, both very talented with bad quarterbacks. So I think they're very similar in their role, but you're getting Noah Fant a couple rounds earlier than you can grab Logan Thomas for. So I think I have a pretty high exposure rate to Logan Thomas this year. But let's see what's going on in these rounds. We're almost up already. It looks like Josh Jacobs fell all the way to 71. So that will be our 4th and final running back. That kind of works out perfect. Get a little bit of a value, almost 10 picks. Josh Jacobs never falls that far. And when we're done with our running backs now. We have Christian McCaffrey, Leonard Fournette, Javonte Williams, Josh Jacobs. There's no reason for us to grab any other running backs. And we're going to just go ahead and hammer wide receivers and try to sneak in a quarterback here soon. I'm just trying to see who I want to target at the quarterback position. Okay. Right here, I think we're going to go ahead and go with Drake London. Or we could even reach on Michael Thomas, to be honest. 74. Yeah, we'll go Drake London just because of the target percentage that he's going to get in his team. The wide receiver 2 in Atlanta is Bryan Edwards, and he was the third or fourth option on the Raiders. So I think Drake London's a great pick here. I think he has extreme upside. What was Drake London overall? I know he was like top 10. He might have been 8. And if you look back at the history of receivers taken in like the top 20 picks of the draft, oh my God, why is it searching Google? I hate that shit. Their target percentage coming into the team that they're going to is usually over 20% right off the bat. Now, he will probably take a little bit of time to get up to speed, but moving in towards the end of the year, he's going to be – it's very possible that he blows up much like a Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson just based off of his skill set. And yeah, he was 8th overall. I don't know why maybe he didn't run a 40. Some prospects just don't have a 40 time listed. I don't know if if that's something that people do. They just opt out of the 40 if they're already guaranteed a spot. But I think Drake London's a good pick here. And I think we have a lot of talent in the wide receiver room, and we're kind of making up for going with 4 running backs in the top 6 rounds. And we will have have some space free up later on, being that we're not drafting more running backs anymore. And I think the top 3 wide receivers in our offense right now, even with that start, are very solid and can be top 10 wide receivers all in their own regard. I wouldn't be surprised if any of them were up there. I don't think you really could say you would be shocked at that. I don't think it's likely for DK Metcalf or Drake London, but I don't think you could be shocked. So we're definitely setting our team up right now for a very high ceiling. I will say that. Which this will probably be a pretty bad team in a 12-team draft where you're not looking for the absolute ceiling. You're just looking to beat the 12 people that you're in a division with or in a league with. But when we're shooting for that first place $75,000 prize, you got to take shots at the high ceiling. And this team definitely has a high ceiling. You can't argue that. So I like to start here. I do think we want to grab a quarterback in the next 3 picks. Because, as you know, I think that Baker is in a lot better of a situation than he was before. I think that he will have a very respectable season. I'm not going to say I'm like pro Baker, he's the next best quarterback in the league. But I think he has plenty of weapons around him to do trying to see who I can compare him to from last year. But do a very respectable job. And if that's all you're looking for when when you can grab a quarterback in these later rounds. Now, the thing that we have to look out for is our pick 191 is right at his ADP. And like I said, I've seen him going earlier and earlier. So the question is, if we make it this late, we might have to grab Baker at 170. So that's technically a 22 pick reach. However, I don't think that's what he's worth, and I think he will continue to rise as people pick him earlier and earlier. And I think he'll find a new home right in this area. So even if we pick him at 170, we're still getting a really good value on where we think he will end up at the end of the season. So that's really all we're looking for with that pick. And it really frees us up early to go with the wide receivers and tight ends before there's a huge drop off. So, but all that being said, I do want to make sure I have a solid QB1 ahead of him. So we're looking for quarterbacks at values right now, but we definitely have a main priority on the wide receiver position here. So Treylon Burks is available for us right here. We're not interested in Kareem Hunt, obviously. Tyler Lockett, I am negative interested in. Plus, we have DK Metcalf already, so we're going to go Treylon Burks here. Now, I'm starting to come to, and I'm having an idea right now where we might kind of switch this whole thing up depending on our next pick. Let's see. Let me just think for a second. Why do I keep closing this? 180. I was going to say we could get Robert Woods. And we still might get Robert Woods, but get Robert Woods and then shoot for 3 quarterbacks, Tannehill, Baker Mayfield, and then like a Zach Wilson or something. But I don't think we're going to get Tannehill falling to us because he's like right at 180, right in that dead zone. But what it might do, because I'm still going to grab Robert Woods here if I can. No, we're shooting for the ceiling. I was going to say what that would do is we could maybe put off our Baker Mayfield pick until 191, and then hopefully Tannehill or Baker Mayfield falls to us, and we could have a little bit of an insurance policy. But I think I'm going to botch that whole plan. Just keep going for the absolute ceiling, which means we're not going to go with Robert Woods and Tannehill. What we're going to do, as long as they don't pick him, is go Skye Moore. I think that Skye Moore's ceiling is extremely high and his floor is very low. as a prospect, he's an extremely impressive prospect. Let's look him up real quick. And he's going into an offense that really needs a number one receiver, and I'm not convinced that Juju is going to be capable of that. I think he has the talent to be, but I also think he serves a very similar role as Travis Kelce, just like a big body target for possession, for moving the chains. And we have Skye Moore coming in at the second round, pick 22, running a 4.4. So, I wouldn't be surprised if he becomes Patrick Mahomes' new favorite target. And if that's the case, we want a piece of that action. And then the alternative was either going Tyler Lockett or Robert Woods. And being that we already have Treylon Burks and we're shooting for our ceiling, having Treylon Burks and Robert Woods, I don't think is doing it for us. Especially since we don't even know if we're going to be able to get Ryan Tannehill later on. So that was a thought process there, but we are going with a lot of freshmen for our wide receiver core, which can work out very well. It can work out very well in the sense that you can pick up on some real value because it's kind of the case of the unknown, but it also means you can have a huge bust on your hands too. But if we're going to take our shot, might as well go with 3 as our third wide receiving option. So if one of them works out, we'll be solid. And if 2 works out, we'll have our flex position. So I'm not hating that, but at the same time, moving forward in our wide receiver draft, we're going to look for more veteran options that will provide a higher floor to hopefully make it through the beginning of the season before or until the rookies get up to speed. Because usually the rookies take 4 to 6 weeks just to get up to speed, learn the offense, get on the same page with their quarterback, so on and so forth. So in that time, we're going to grab some vets just to produce right off the bat and hopefully carry us through those first few seasons. Now, I don't know if Drake London is going to have a choice. I think he's probably going to have to just produce right away if they have any chance at all. But again, you definitely can't count on it with Mariota at quarterback. Now, if Matt Ryan was still there, I feel a little differently, and I think Drake London might be going a little earlier. But Mariota makes a huge question mark, puts a huge question mark on Drake London's back. So, but these are all guys that can be number one receivers on the respective offenses at the end of the year. So, if any of these work out, we'll be looking good. But let's go back to the big board and see what's going on the other side of the draft. See if there's any runs we need to be aware of. Not really. Quarterback is kind of thinning out here. We're hitting our drop off after Derek Carr. Kirk Cousins actually goes before Aaron Rodgers and Derek Carr, and then you see Tua go as well. So, we're pretty much past all of the quote-unquote elite quarterback options. So what we might do is grab like a Justin Fields and then get 3 quarterbacks. That might be the new play. Go like Justin Fields, Baker Mayfield, and Mariota, or we could even take a shot on Deshaun Watson. If we're really shooting for that high ceiling. I don't think Deshaun Watson plays this year, but if he does, then we definitely want to have a piece of that, especially when you can grab him at pretty much the last pick overall. Now, we do see Robert Woods still on the board, and it's pick 119. If he doesn't go here, we're going to have to take him, which I am absolutely fine with. Yeah, and we're honestly gonna keep. Yeah, Justin Fields went, so we're just gonna keep going receiver and just at this point, he does go to Robert Woods. At this point, we're gonna have to grab 3 quarterbacks. That has already been decided for us. I am afraid to take Christian Watson here because of what we just talked about, having our 3 rookies already. However, I forgot for a second that we're picking the next 2 picks. So, We probably didn't have to reach on Michael Gallup, although I will say at this range, I'm a huge Michael Gallup guy this year. Huge. I'm drafting him in this range over all of these guys when I can. I think people forget what type of receiver Michael Gallup is based off of his injury from last year and not being on the field. But I think Michael Gallup is an extreme talent that's going to have over 150 targets opened up to him this year with Amari Cooper leaving. And I think he does step up into that role. So I really like Michael Gallup this year. I haven't been able to pair him a whole lot with Dak Prescott, but I'm grabbing him nonetheless. Now, my only question here is if I want to go Rondale Moore or Christian. Rondale, honestly, any of these guys you could make a case for, but I think I know what I'm going to do. And it might be a little bit surprising. I do like Tim Patrick too, though. Maybe we go Tim Patrick here. I think he's the safest bet, and what we need right now is safety. I lied. So the reason that I like Rondale Moore on this team is because we just talked about how Drake London, Traylon Burks, Skye Moore, and Michael Gallup will all have a slow start to the season. So the reason we went with Rondale Moore over Tim Patrick is I think Rondale Moore has a very hot start to this season, being that DeAndre Hopkins will not be present for the first 6 weeks. I think AJ Green is absolutely washed. They're a pass-heavy offense, and Marquise Brown can't handle the whole target load that is going to be freed up in the first 6 weeks with DeAndre Hopkins gone. So I think Rondale Moore does really step up into the role and give us some hot production right in the beginning of the season, which is what we're looking for here. Now, I don't think he has a huge finish in the tournament, but by tournament time, I think Traylon Burke, this range right here, Drake London, Traylon Burke, Skye Moore, Michael Gallup, I think they're all back at full speed and up to speed. So I think that it'll kind of balance out there where we won't need Rondale Moore as much come tournament time. But there in the beginning, we will go with Rondale Moore. And you also have to remember that Tim Patrick has a new quarterback, so he also might have a slow start. I do think Tim Patrick has a extremely high ceiling. Everyone's fighting between Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, but Tim Patrick's name should be in that conversation as well. He is an extremely talented third option on that Denver Broncos defense. And with a new quarterback coming in, you never know if maybe they link up and they have really good chemistry and he becomes, he overtakes one of the two, Jerry Jeudy or Courtland Sutton. So I have been picking a lot of Tim Patrick where I can. But for this team construct, I think that was the right decision. What up, Chris? We got Chris in the chat. ADPs have gotten too accurate lately. I missed 5th round Zeke. Yeah, Zeke's been moving up pretty steady for the past few weeks, which I think is deserved. I think it's because the news came out that he was playing with a blown ACL or PCL or MCL for half the season last year. I will say it's not like he's getting any better as time goes on. He's an older running back, so I think that he's definitely on the decline. So I don't think we're ever going to see prime Zeke again. But that being said, I don't think he averages 60 yards a game this year. He looks good in pictures. He looks in shape. He is fully healed apparently from his injury. So, I think that's why we're seeing Ezekiel Elliott start to move up in the rankings, especially when you're talking about Montgomery and Dobbins, who's actually going the opposite way with his injury. So, yeah, no more 5th round Zeke. We really want to start looking at a tight end here. I think our wide receiver core is looking really good. I guess we are probably going to want one of those guys that throws the balls as well here. So let's see what our options are. We are going to be, what's our picks? We are going to have 143, 146, and 160 something. 143, Trevor Lawrence. Robert Tonyan, Hunter Henry. Jameis Winston's actually a little bit interesting. I do wish I had like Chris Olave or Jarvis. I mean, maybe we go I mean, we might be able to go like Jarvis and Jameis here. Kind of like that. I think Trevor Lawrence's ceiling is a little bit higher. Because what is Marvin Jones? Marvin Jones is like 161. And maybe we go Trevor Lawrence. We have very low exposure to Trevor Lawrence. So maybe we botch Jarvis Landry and go with Trevor Lawrence. Never mind. Fournette's the same age as Zeke. Yeah, he is. But I think he serves a very different role. I think he's. I don't know. I don't think he's been through as many injuries in his career. I don't. He also doesn't have Jerry Jones, hanging over his head. I don't know. I don't know what. Honestly, I'm trying to think of reasons why I don't like Ezekiel Elliott as much as I like Leonard Fournette, which is probably just straight up based off of the offenses that they're in. How many receivers do I have? Holy shit! All right, I gotta stop. It's probably just because I like the Bucs offense a little bit more than the Cowboys offense, which I know is probably a little bit of a hot take, especially with you, Chris. But I think that in a half PPR league, Leonard Fournette has a lot more exposure to targets throughout the game because if they're in a throwing scheme in Dallas and they're going to bring in Tony Pollard. So I think it's the receiving upside that makes me a Fournette believer and not really comparable to Zeke Elliott. But that being said, I still do like Zeke. And again, Zeke, it's not like Zeke can't doesn't have targets. He actually had like 50 targets last year, and early in his career, he had a season with 70 to 80 targets. So, I'm not saying he's not a receiving back at all because that's just not the case. It's not like he's a Nick Chubb or a Josh Jacobs or anything. But Leonard Fournette definitely has more exposure in the receiving game. So I think that's why I like him a little bit more. And we're going to go with the Jameis Winston stack here with Jarvis Landry. Was he? Am I mistaken on that? Because that also might be why Rachaad White is so appealing in these later rounds. If Leonard Fournette has an injury history that we're worried about, then it makes sense why Rachaad White is super appealing. But, I mean, at the end of the day, regardless of all of that, I think what we talked about with the receiving upside and being that Tom Brady's his quarterback, Gronk and Godwin are going to be out. So they're, a lot of times when targets are freed up in an offense, just historically, most of those are not most, but a large chunk of those receptions go to the running back. So I think a lot of targets do open up for Leonard Fournette, even more so from the past 2 years. So again, I'm much more comfortable grabbing Fournette than I am Zeke. But at the same time, if you get to the fourth round and you need a stable running back versus a high ceiling running back, and the two players I'm thinking of is Zeke versus Cam Akers. Zeke is always going to have the higher floor. So I do like Ezekiel Elliott for that. I think he's kind of one of those players that has the higher floor and the lower ceiling, respective to where they're going in the draft. Obviously, you have different levels. Let's see if we can pull it up. Different levels of that, but I think that Zeke serves a similar purpose as Nick Chubb, which serves a similar purpose as Najee, which serves a similar purpose as Antonio Gibson. All in different ranges, obviously, but I think those players are more of your higher floor, lower ceilings. Maybe Elijah Mitchell is a better player in this range to compare him to. Damian Harris. Players that don't get a whole lot of receptions, but will get plenty of volume. So I think Zeke definitely serves a purpose, and I do have exposure to him, but if we're arguing Zeke or Leonard Fournette, I'm always going Leonard Fournette. But we really have to start picking some quarterbacks and tight ends because we have no tight ends and one quarterback. So, yeah, the rest of our picks are going to be quarterbacks and tight ends. Is 1,500 touches when there starts to be a huge drop off? I was in the gym today and I saw on the TV that all the analysts and experts around the league have Zeke out of like the top 10 or 15 backs this year. I mean, he averaged 58.8 yards a game last year, which is horrible. But you got to remember he was injured last year. Um, but again, age is definitely not on his side, especially when recovering from an injury. Only 2 running backs have gone over 1,500 touches without getting majorly injured. Oh, you're not in here anymore, are you? I want to know who those are. That's actually crazy. I mean, that's why the shelf life of running backs is so low, and owners have such a hard time paying max contracts to running backs because odds are they don't last. Even Derrick Henry he ran into his major injury. Frank Gore, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, even your biggest guys now are getting exposed to injury. Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry, Najee Harris is our best bet right now, but he got hurt at 1496. Was that his first major injury? I think it probably was. But anyways, I didn't know about the 1,500 touch rule. That's a lot, though. That's a lot. Do you know who the second one was? I really do have a stack coming up here that I would love to get, but I probably won't. What did we say our next pick is? 191 and 194. I would love to get Tannehill, Hooper, and Treylon Burks stack. I'm sorry, I was talking off the mic. I would love to get a Treylon Burks, Austin Hooper, Ryan Tannehill stack, and I think we're going to grab another tight end here and just hope we get one of those names falling to us or both. But again, we're still looking for Baker Mayfield to stack with CMC. Mariota's like a last-ditch effort if we need someone in the last rounds. Mitchell Trubisky, honestly, could be an option. I'm like negative. I'm just ultra low on Kenny Pickett. I don't think they need to rush into giving him his chance yet either. I think they have time to let him sit for a year, so I'm okay with grabbing Mitchell Trubisky. Evan Ingram, David Njoku. We'll go David Njoku. Just based off the contract and lack of talent in their receiving options. It's really just Amari Cooper, Kareem Hunt, and David Njoku right now. Although I am high on David Bell, but it will take him a little bit to get up to speed. Was Zeke over 1,500 touches pre-injury? I guess he didn't even miss time last season though. Maybe he managed to escape maybe that was his 1,500 touch injury that he just so happened to play through. I don't know how you play through an MCL or ACL or whatever it was. I don't know how you played through that. I would be such a bitch. I probably wouldn't even go to work, and I have a desk job. I probably would lay on the couch, drink chicken noodle soup, complain. This guy suited up and went out and ran into people for 4 hours every Sunday. Yeah, I forgot he didn't miss time last season. That's actually kind of crazy. So basically, he's extremely due, is what we're saying. So that's a reason to be a little bit weary. But I don't know, like predicting injuries in these. I mean, you said it best. You said it best. You don't find injuries; injuries find you. And it's like we could guess injuries all day long, but in these tournament style drafts, we're just looking for upside. We're not even worried about it. So, everything has to work out perfect, and that's what we're banking on here. In a redraft league, I don't know if I could get behind Zeke. Like, I don't think I would want a piece of that. But then again, I don't even think I want a piece of Saquon Barkley, and I know the ceiling on him. Last season, my top 2 running backs were David Montgomery and Christian McCaffrey, and we know how that worked out. So I think I have a little bit of PTSD. I'm a little biased here. Which, this information is very interesting, Chris, because what this is telling me is I should be a lot higher on Tony Pollard. If anything happens to Zeke where he misses time, Tony Pollard his ceiling is extremely high. I'm talking extremely high. I mean, Cordero Patterson was 8th overall running back last season. Tony Pollard could be there without Zeke. 100%. Because don't forget, Cowboys had the most points scored last season. And they have targets freed up. And Tony Pollard's a receiving back. And he has rapport with his quarterback. So, I mean, if maybe I should be higher on Tony Pollard is what I'm getting from this. That's what I'm getting from this. Now, you guys know that we are looking for... Now, Ryan Tannehill and Baker Mayfield would be our ideal options. I just realized if Austin Hooper... Okay, Austin Hooper goes. I was going to say, if Austin Hooper and Ryan Tannehill were both available, that would have been really hard to pass that stack up for Baker. But now we're just hoping for Baker and Ryan Tannehill to make it to us. Not sure if he will, but that's what we're hoping for. Statistically, Pollard should show up this year. No, I agree. And I also saw that regardless of Zeke's injury, they've been lining Tony Pollard up in the slot, much like Kareem Hunt. Who else does that? Aaron Jones. Saquon Barkley actually does that too. So, I mean, anytime Tony Pollard's going to get his touches regardless. But if Zeke gets injured, he's a top 10 back immediately. So I definitely should have more exposure to Tony Pollard as we talk this out. Because I have some teams with him, but not as much as I would like. And the range that he goes in, where is it? Tony Pollard. Where are you at? Where are you? Tony Pollard. Yeah, he's in this. Honestly, I would like Tony Pollard over Antonio Gibson. Over Ken. Yeah, I should be drafting Tony Pollard more. I get so caught up in the Ken Walker train. I have so much exposure to Ken Walker that I always overlook Tony Pollard. So that's probably a mistake of mine. But anyways, we're 1 pick away. This team already has 3 quarterbacks. This team has 1. He goes... I have a headache. All right. We can recover. I know what we're doing. And no, I'm not going Deshaun Watson. I don't think I have a chance to get Logan Thomas or Carson Wentz on the return. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go Davis Mills. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we get Braven Jordan on the return. I think Davis Mills, I like his upside more than Carson Wentz and Deshaun Watson anyways. So I'm okay with that even if we don't get Braven Jordan coming back. But if we get Braven Jordan coming back to us, then we'll get our stack. And then we'll have a stack with every one of our 3 quarterbacks. I think these 3 quarterbacks can get us through a season with 20 points at the quarterback position every week. I think it's very possible. I think the highest ceiling is probably Jameis just because of his options. Especially if the Alvin Kamara suspension is not 6 weeks. I think he has the highest ceiling, but I do like Davis Mills as well. I think people forget that he did a pretty decent job at the end of last year, and he was a rookie, and his receiving options got way better. His entire offense got better. So I think Davis Mills can surprise some people. And, I'm not saying he's going to be the best quarterback in the league, but let's not forget we picked him at pick 194. And he goes at 203 ADP. So, got to remember the range we're grabbing him in. Now, I could have grabbed Marcus Mariota or Mitchell Trubisky, like we talked about earlier. Maybe I should have, maybe not. I don't know. The problem with them is that we don't know that they're going to be a starter for the entire season. I don't think that Kenny Pickett plays this season, but at the same time, Davis Mills is definitely going to play this season, all season, as long as he's healthy. Whereas that's not the case for Marcus Mariota and Mitchell Trubisky. So I like Davis Mills here. I agree. I have very little Pollard. I will definitely start getting some. Yeah, I know. I think we just convinced ourselves that Tony Pollard should be way higher, especially with the 1,500 touch rule, and he's at 1,530. I mean, how old is Zeke? He's probably what is it? Oh God. I'm not gonna embarrass myself. Oh God, 26 is old now. Oh my God, he's young. He's got plenty of time. Screw Tony Pollard. But yeah, 26 for a running back is pretty old, and Tony Pollard is extremely talented. So I'm gonna start drafting him more. And I need to stop taking Ken Walker anyways. Rashad Penny's finally made his way up to that similar range, and I hate I hate picking both of them now because it used to be that Rashad Penny was so much lower, so it was like Ken Walker was really enticing, but now I just don't even want a part of it. I'm still betting on Ken Walker over Rashad Penny just because of injury and him being available at the end of the season, but I think in those situations I'm going to start going Tony Pollard over them to up my exposure. Because if we look at my exposure right now, it's probably 2 teams out of 70. I forgot in the beginning of the video, while you guys are here, real quick. If you want to get into some of these drafts, go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Your first deposit from $10 to $100 will get matched at 100%. So if you put in $100, they will match you in that same second, give you another 100, and you can get into 40 of these puppy drafts. And you have to hurry because this puppy draft is already halfway full in 3 days, I think. So hop on in here. Use code FFX54 while you're at it. It supports me. It takes nothing from you. It allows me to get in a few more of these drafts. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe, and hit the bell so that if I'm live, you guys can either try to get into one of these drafts with me. I've been into a draft with Chris before, one of my subscribers, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun talking shit and playing against each other the whole time. So if you want to be notified when we're live, hit the bell and come join us. We're doing these drafts, I want to say on the daily, but we try to do them on the daily, and if we miss, we usually do a Best Ball Mania. So that's kind of the schedule we operate on. Usually I'm streaming 6 to 8-ish on weekdays, and then kind of whatever for weekends. So, but yeah, I really appreciate everyone being in here. This is a pretty big turnout for our channel, so I appreciate that. But it looks like, I'm not going to say it. Okay, we got Braven Jordan on the way through. So Davis Mills feels a little bit better of a pick here. Our projection is pretty decent. And I personally like this team a lot. This is the first time we went with a hyper fragile build at running back. But I think with the running backs that we have, it's very doable. So just to recap, our quarterbacks are Jameis Winston, Ryan Tannehill, and Davis Mills. So very late quarterbacks, and we went with 3. Our running backs are Christian McCaffrey, Leonard Fournette, Javonte Williams, and Josh Jacobs. Only 4 running backs with the hyper-fragile build. This is a very unique build, actually. 3 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, and 3 tight ends. Very interesting. But I think it can work. I really do. Our wide receivers are Deontay Johnson, DK Metcalf, Drake London, Traylon Burks, Skye Moore, all rookies. Michael Gallup, Rondell Moore, and Jarvis Landry. And don't forget that Jarvis Landry is stacked with Jameis. Traylon Burks is stacked with Ryan Tannehill. And then we go to tight end, and we have Noah Fant, David Njoku, and Braven Jordan stacked with Davis Mills. So that's our final team. Very interesting. It's a little bit different. It's a very different strategy as far as number of personnel goes, but I think it can work. And like I've always said, we're gathering data here. We're going to analyze it at the end of the year and see what works, and we'll learn from that. So to have a little bit of diversification in our structures and players is always good. So we have a large data pool to look at when we're going back and kind of seeing what works. So I like this team for that sole reason, but I also think it can work, and I don't think it's dead in the water by any means. So I appreciate everyone coming out. We had a pretty good turnout for this video, so thank you for that. It's always fun interacting with you guys. But until tomorrow, I hope you guys all have a good night, and I'll see you then. Peace out.